Hey Rick,
Hey, Megan.
happy Tuesday. Here we are.
It is another
You're
Tuesday.
allowed you're allowed back in your house. Your kitchen's looking great. You got your backsplash on.
Yeah, one step at a time.
One step at a time. I know. So I tell people, when you buy a house, don't think you have to fix everything all at once. You can break off something and you can do something every year. I mean, it doesn't, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people like everything perfect right away.
Well,
And that's
yeah,
that.
that probably should taking one bite at a time instead of taking the whole elephant at one time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I did not talk to you about what we're going to talk about today. So
Uh-huh.
it could either go
Okay.
well or it could
All
go
right.
bad. And I
Oh,
specifically didn't want to talk to you about this ahead of time because I wanted our like raw conversation. Okay.
okay, let's go for it.
So I want to talk a little bit today, and I do talk about this all the time because I can't talk about it quite enough, is that you have to be careful with who you're working with,
Hmm.
and who's on your team, who's looking out for you. Are they 100% engaged? Are you a number to them? Are you a real person? Like, you've got to get a feel for these people because I had something happen in the last week that I'm going to tell you about.
Okay.
So, all right. So it's a personal story of
Hmm.
our family. So, you know, uh, my son, our son Tim,
Hmm.
he has known that he wants to be an architect ever since he was a little kid.
Yep.
And from my experience, it seems like what you want to be when you're a little kid is really like, for the most part, what you're going to be.
Yeah, it's a passion.
It is. And he's really just been consistent on it. And so I'm like, well, we got to get this kid in to school, because he's graduating to be an architect. So we met with some of my architect friends, and I spoke with some of my clients who were in the biz, and really did our homework. I mean, little Tim and I went out, we like interviewed architects. Okay.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And we did the whole thing. So it
Hmm.
turns out that he should really get into Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Okay.
Hmm.
Apparently, this is the school to go to. And it's like, that's wonderful because it's in state, which is, more cost effective than out of state.
Oh, for
And
sure.
yeah, and we could drive there in case of an emergency. It's not too far, and we could, go see him once a month or what have you.
Hmm.
And he already spent a summer there in the architecture program. So
Hmm.
we're all team Cal Poly, okay? And so we didn't know. Tim and I have gone to Big Tim and I, we've gone to the School of Hard Knocks, okay? We went to community college some, and from then on, we just started businesses. Like, that's what we like to do. And we did it
Hmm.
together. And we went to like an SBA loan school and about starting your own business and everything. So anyway, so we've never been in this 4-year college thing. We don't know anything about it. And we're
Hmm.
totally overwhelmed. And we don't want to let Tim down because we are ignorant, right? And so I had a client refer me to a private individual who has been helping people get into college for like 20 years. This is what this person does, like, as a
Hmm.
job. And my client is fabulous and I really respect them. And so, if they give me a referral, well, yeah, I'm going to take it seriously, right?
Hmm.
And so we met with this person, I don't know, maybe last August or September. We met with them at our house. We told them exactly what we wanted to do. And that person said, yes, we'll do it. And this and that. And so from then on, there were several meetings. There were on the phone meetings, mostly sort of a conference call. And I sat in on most of them. And this person had Tim pick some backup schools. And quite frankly, you know, most of the schools were out of state. And he, I thought, well, this is a good process for him. You have to write
Mm-hmm.
essays and all this kind of stuff. But I really had no intention on sending him out of state. So, everything is done, and there's not too much communication with me, but Tim's like almost an adult now, and
Mm-hmm.
he's got it handled, and we had a plan, and I reviewed it with the person, and this, that, the other thing. Okay. So all the applications were submitted in November, right? I think he ended up submitting like 7 applications.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm like, slow, 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 and
Mm-hmm.
waiting at the mailbox every day, and checking online. It's like, oh, you'll hear by April 1st. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. All right. And we were at a family dinner on Sunday, and little Tim says to me, he's talking to his aunt about his college applications, and he said to me, Mom, come to think of it,
Uh-oh.
I never got anything back from Slow, like confirmation or, and
Acknowledgement.
I'm
Nothing.
like, oh my God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I called the person. I was like, literally like, what the hell is going on here? So I called the person. It was Sunday afternoon, but I had texted the person a few times after I had made the last payment, and I hadn't heard back. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Just like, hey, manage my expectations. Like, what's going to happen from here? Right. I hadn't heard anything back, and I thought, oh, well, I guess I'm on my own. Um, and anyway, um, it was Sunday, but I texted her and I said, hey, I'm sitting here at this dinner, and Tim said he hadn't heard anything back, or what's the story, what's going on, right? Because first you want to find the
Mm-hmm.
story out, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I called the person and they didn't answer, but then they were texting me instead of answering the phone, which I'm a huge fan of. It's like, just pick up the phone
Mm-hmm.
and call somebody back. And so basically what it boils down to is that not only did an application not get submitted for Slow,
Mm.
but there was no apology and no accountability. And in fact, she blamed him. She said, well, Tim was going to talk to his counselor about it and then get back to me. And I thought, well, that's really funny, because he didn't have to talk to his counselor for all these other applications that he submitted. Like, what is going? And plus, he's 17. You're getting paid to help him. Would you not have a reminder? Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
let's get this application submitted, because it's like our number one most important. The whole point of this whole thing was to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she blamed him. She didn't take any accountability. And then, the whole attitude was sort of laissez-faire, like, oh, well, you could take a year and get a job at an
Oh
architecture
no.
firm and then go back. I'm like, so it just reminded me of, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, whatever the situation is, we have to pick up the pieces and keep moving, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
as irritated as I was, and I was really, really irritated, really, really
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine.
totally let down,
Mm-hmm.
just just feeling like dirt, right? So I hardly even slept on Sunday. That's how mad I was. So Monday morning I
Mm-hmm.
woke up, I wrote this person a letter. I didn't give it to them because I don't know if I have to give it to them, because I, don't think it's going to change the trajectory of what they're doing. Obviously they're on this hard and steady path of jackassery, but
Mm-hmm.
it made me feel better. And Big Tim, we all sat down, and Big Tim said, all right, here's the plan, here's what we got to do, let's just get this done. So we were able we're picking up the pieces and moving forward. But I feel like, as crappy of a situation that something like that is, that there is there is a reminder in that message, and that is that, not necessarily, oh, Meghan, you have to be more careful of these people. I mean, I did my diligence.
Mhm,
Things are gonna happen when you work with people, because they're people. But
mhm,
it reminded me of just how important our roles are when we work with people, that we follow our word. We always look out for their best interest.
mhm, mhm.
We have clear communication, and that we don't let them down,
Yep,
and
exactly.
that we pretty much know what the outcome of things are going to be before we get them, wrapped up in stuff and get them
Mhm,
emotionally invested. I feel like we guard people really well, like, hey,
mhm,
you know, pump the brakes, we got to take care of this, or whatever the
mhm, mhm.
situation is. So, as crappy of a situation that happened, like I said, it just really reminds me our face of just how important our roles are, that we
Mhm.
have to take care of people.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you and I are in a business where people depend upon us all the time,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of moving parts. And if someone drops the ball on some of those parts, it's a different outcome potentially.
right.
And so that's a lot of responsibility. It sounds like the person you guys had was not understanding that level of responsibility.
I know. Can you imagine? Like, I mean, she just like changed what's gonna happen.
Yeah, boy.
But I mean, a lot of people have worse problems than that, but this is our problem, so it's important to us,
Well, yeah, but it's important. It's important to Timmy to get into slow. That's what his
Yeah,
goal was. That's where his passion is. That's where he wants to go.
right.
It
Exactly.
wasn't an
So
afterthought.
I know, it totally stinks, but it's just, like I said, a reminder of how we have to take care of people, because you
Hmm.
hear of the word service all the time. My service is the best. But I really think 9 out of 10 people that are serving people aren't
Hmm.
really doing it with the heart of a servant, of really wanting to take care of
Hmm.
people, and that
Yeah.
authenticity. So, just a
And let's face
reminder.
it. Well, sometimes they lack the skill set to give that service too.
Right. Oh
We
my
know that.
gosh.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Their intentions
Exactly.
are there, but they don't have the skill set to really deliver on it.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah. We
I
see that a lot.
agree. I agree. Yeah, I mean, really, our job is a lot of things, but one of them is to diffuse a situation, or help people to understand,
Hmm.
so they don't feel so anxious.
Hmm.
Yeah, just
Totally
to
agree. Totally
yeah,
agree.
yeah. So anyway, that was my story
Wow.
for today, with a reminder of what we're doing, and what our goals are, and how we make people feel about their transactions, and how to remain with those ideas in mind. We got to take care of people that trust us,
Hmm.
and that depend on us, and that are paying us to
Hmm.
do our best.
Yes, exactly. Every
So
day.
that's my story.
Wow. Sorry to hear about that situation with Timmy, though. I know how upset you must have been, because I know you pretty well. You're pretty contained right now. I wouldn't want to see you on Sunday evening,
I know. I know. I'm in my
right?
namaste moment. Oh
Yeah,
my
but
gosh. So
understandably so.
yeah, how we didn't do a talk last week, was my fault. But so how's the mortgage market the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's pretty stable. Market's up a little bit in rates last. There's more pressure in rates the past couple of weeks, but I think we're in kind of still a fairly narrow range here. We're not seeing
Mm-hmm.
the wild price swings, but of course, no one wants to see a pricing move up at all. But
Mm-hmm.
it's still within a 1/4% or so range. It's not going up 0.5% or 3/4 like it was last year. But It's up a quarter, down, up and down a little bit, but mostly in the last couple of weeks, up a little bit, but not a point where we're concerned about it.
Yeah, yeah, good. Yeah, things have been sort of things kind of started off like super hot and heavy as
Hmm.
far as inventory, the amount of houses coming on the market. It looked pretty good, but I
Hmm.
feel like in the last 2 weeks, I could be mistaken, so we'll see what the numbers are, but I feel like in the
Yeah,
last 2 weeks, things have kind of like puttered out again as far as
really, on
homes
inventory?
coming on the market. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of
Well,
like what I'm thinking here. And I'm usually pretty good with my feelings with real estate, which is
hmm,
weird because real estate's not about feelings, but it's just like my,
hmm.
you know, spidey sense, I guess. It's
Well,
saying
I
the
mean,
last 2 weeks have been kind of quiet. It could be the
that's,
rain, you
well,
know.
that's part of it. I think the rain plays a certain role for us in Southern California and other parts of the country. It rolls off their back, but in Southern California, it's breaking news,
Yeah,
So, yeah, that could be part of it for sure.
yeah.
But I, but we're still seeing multiple offers on every deal I'm
Hmm.
involved in. There's 5 or 6 offers competing for the property.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because you know, I get some really, really tough properties to price because, I'm not in Irvine and
Hmm.
most of my stuff are houses and not like, townhouses, which
Hmm.
those things are all easier, right? To price.
A little
So
bit,
the,
yeah,
so the more similarities your comps have, the easier it is to predict what it's going to
true,
sell for, right?
very true.
And so most of my stuff is custom and uh interesting, the
Hmm.
lots are really big or the houses are really small or there's only one bathroom. It's like, oh my gosh. So
Hmm.
I work really, really hard to advise the sellers on the perfect listing price. It's not the price I think it's going to sell for. It's a little bit less than what I think it's going to sell for. It's not too high. It's
Hmm.
not too low because we don't need to have 40 offers.
Right.
Um, it's just right. It's just about, you know, even just like 1% under market, you know. Um,
Hmm.
and that will generate a lot of offers, a lot of interest, as opposed to if you overprice it, even in
Oh,
this
it's
market,
it's.
even in this market where it's hotter than Hades, the market is on fire. But if you
Hmm.
overprice something, it is still the kiss of death. You can still expect, and I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. I said, it's the culture of the market here is that if something is not under contract within the first week, that there's something wrong with it. Because sometimes when you tell somebody that a good pricing strategy is to go a little bit less and generate a lot of activity and multiple
Hmm.
offers and get a little bit more,
Hmm.
people think to themselves, why are you wanting to price it a little bit less? Like, are you being a lazy agent that you don't want to have
Mm.
open houses for 6 months and try to get me the best offer I can get? It's like, no, no. Of course, it's great when
Hmm.
things sell fairly quickly, but
Sure.
that is the culture of this market. And so
Hmm.
if you don't participate, then you're an outlier. And then you're
Hmm.
trying to reduce the price to come up with
Hmm.
what the actual market is.
Right.
And
Yeah, I agree.
it's no
Yeah, I'm
bueno.
seeing that. As the buyers I talk to, sometimes if a house has been on the market for say 3 or 4 weeks, they're going, "Wow, that's time to bargain now. Let's lowball the offer."
Yep.
And then and you know how that goes. It
Yep.
doesn't work well. Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
seeing some of that a little bit
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So yeah, it's kind of two ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah,
Oh
no
gosh.
doubt.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you listening to my story. Take it to heart and remember with everybody you talk to, just, continue to do the things we do. Be patient, be kind, treat everybody how we want to be treated and super high level of service, looking
Hmm.
out for their best interest and
And
we will all
then get
be
it done.
fruitful.
Yep, for sure. Good advice.
All right, Rick, we will see you next week.
Next week, we'll do it.
All right.
Thanks,
See you
Megan.
then.
See you later.